Hi everybody, MeNoHaxor here, bringing you guys a first impressions video on Rakan. I'll be going over some of my thoughts on Rakan, some tips and tricks you can do on him, as well as my builds for him. Overall, I think Rakan is a very strong support. He has really clear strengths and weaknesses, and he's a very playable champion in the current meta, even without having Xayah as a laning partner. I would say his main strengths are his mobility and teamfighting. It's extremely hard to kill him in lane if a jungler comes to gank, since he can dash 2 times to get out. So even if you don't have Xayah as a partner, just having an AD carry with a dash is pretty helpful so that you can disengage, you can engage at the same time as the AD carry, and it makes you a lot more slippery in lane. In teamfights, he does a good job at going for CC and then getting out while waiting for his cooldowns. So he's really flexible, and I think that he is easily one of the best teamfighting supports in the current meta right now. I think his biggest weakness is laning phase. His Q is an okay heal, but it's definitely not enough range to be considered a reliable poke. Most poke supports like Karma and Zyra can easily outtrade him during the laning phase, so definitely exploit Rakan's weak laning phase if you happen to play against a Rakan, because once laning phase ends, he's going to be really difficult to deal with. His next biggest weakness is how fragile he is. I was really surprised at how weak his armor and MR is, so he dies really quickly in most teamfights since he has to dash into melee range of many champions to get off his spells. And so when you play as Rakan, you have to be really careful about when you jump in and not just randomly dash around, because you can put yourself in a really bad situation if you just start to autopilot and not really think about your positioning. Here are some interesting tricks I noticed while playing him. When you cast your ult, any champion that you tag in between your dashes will get charmed, so don't feel like you have to right click to tag them. Use your dashes to be efficient with your charms. Another cool mechanic with this W is that if you try to cast outside of the spell's cast range, it will begin the spell the farthest range it can in the direction of your mouse. Your W also buffers any spell cast after it's done being channeled, so as you begin your cast animation for W, use E on a target nearby, and you'll begin your E dash immediately after you are done casting your W. In the same sense, you can buffer cast your Q so that you tag an enemy champion after you land your CC, and then you can get out. For runes, I think going a tanky setup is the best option. Even though he has really high AP ratios, I think his cooldowns are a little too high to make good use of them in the laning phase. I would use armor reds, flat HP yellows, flat MR blues, and armor quints to maximize my tankiness. If I'm in a very poke heavy matchup like Zyra, I would swap out 1 or 2 armor quints for flat HP regen so you don't have to use up so many pots. If I'm in a very passive lane matchup like Tahm Kench, taking AP runes probably isn't that bad of an idea. For masteries, Wind Speakers is definitely the best choice since it'll boost his shield, and since you're already going to be buying items like Redemption and Locket, it's also going to be boosting the effectiveness of those items. I've tried going Courage of the Colossus, but it's only okay during teamfighting and later stages in the game, and I think that if you itemize for tankiness, you don't really need Colossus as a mastery. For items, start with Ancient Coin and 3 pots. You're not really looking to poke much in lane, and having coin helps with sustaining through the laning phase. Afterwards, upgrade to Nomads for more gold generation and cheap CDR, as well as getting your standard boots and Sightstone combination. I would upgrade to mobility boots later in the game because having the extra MS to roam and get into position before teamfight starts are pretty important. I think getting Locket as your first core item is very strong. It gives you much needed resistances so that you don't die in one hit when you dash into teamfights. Afterwards, building Redemption is very standard, followed by other situational support items that benefit the situation, such as Ardent Censer, Crucible, Frozen Heart, etc. You could build Talisman if you want, but I think that upgrading to Eye of the Oasis is not a bad idea if you really need the extra vision. For your skill build, I would start the first 3 levels with Q, W, then E. Once you have a point into all 3, start maxing E, then W, and then Q last, taking a point into your ult whenever you can. For summoner spells, I think Exhaust and Flash are the best. If you want a little more lane pressure, or if the enemy team doesn't have many good Exhaust targets, then Ignite is fine instead of Exhaust. Overall, Rakan is a really cool champion, and I'll definitely do a full game commentary on him once I get more practice. Otherwise, I hope you guys enjoyed this different kind of video. Leave a comment letting me know if you enjoyed this style compared to my full game commentaries, and if you do, definitely let me know. Leave a like. Thanks.